There's a medrash, Parshas Vayechi, where the medrash tells us as follows. Mingza Maisa, famous story with Rabbi Masya ben Chorosh. Rabbi Masya ben Chorosh and the Gedolei Hador were sitting in the Beis Medrash, learning Torah. His face looked and shined like the sun. He looked like a malach, had an image like a malach. He had never looked at a woman his entire lifetime. And the Satan once passed this fellow, and he said, how can this person never have sinned? How can it be that we have a Yid over here that never did an Aveira? Never looked at a woman in his life. He went to the Rabbi Shalom. The Satan went to the Rabbi Shalom and said to the Rabbi Shalom, who is this man to you? And the Kadosh Baruch Hu said, this is a tzaddik gomor, complete tzaddik. So the Satan said, all right, give me permission. I'll test him, and let's see if he can rise up to the challenge. The Rabbi Shalom says, forget about it. There's nothing to talk about. You won't be able to get him. This man has never looked at a woman in his life. He never did an Aveira. You won't get him. Satan said, just let me try. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, all right, no problem. The Sultan dressed himself up as the most beautiful woman that ever walked planet Earth, and went over to the tzaddik while he was in the Beis Medrash. And as he came, as the Sultan, this woman came in, he looked the other way, and then went that way, and looked the other way, and he kept on going in every direction, until eventually he could see that he wasn't being successful in scaring off the Yetzer Hara. He went to one of his Talmidim, and he saw one of his Talmidim, and he said, do me a favor, follow my instructions and get me a metal rod, and I'd like you to put the metal rod into fire, and I'd like you to put it into my eyes to stop me from ever looking. And when the Sultan saw this, the Sultan started shaking. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu told the Malach HaMoves, you have to go and heal him. Because he put these spears, he put these iron rods into his eyes, he was blind, he made himself blind in order not to see a woman. And the Rabbi Shalom told the Sultan, go and heal him. And he went, and he said, no, I don't want to be healed. I never want to see again because I don't want to put myself in such a situation. And the Rabbi Shalom promised him, you'll never ever be tempted again, we won't go into this situation again. And he said, okay. That's what the Medrash tells us. Rabbi said, we see a few things from here. We see, number one, that if a person stops and tries, which we'll speak about in the coming shiurim, that's not really the subject of tonight, stops himself from looking at what he should not be looking at him, the Yetzer Hara is actually removed from him. But number two, we see something else, that the Gedolim understood what Shmiras Einayim was. They understood that the Aveira of Shmiras Einayim isn't just an Aveira, but it's one of the big ones. And as we started last week, and I want to continue this week and again, Rabbi said we only mamish hit the surface. Only the surface. We didn't get too deep. And I'm not sure that even tonight we're going to even get too deep. Because it's all about repeating many, many things and understanding by Chazal. But here we have an example of someone who understood what does it mean, Shmiras Einayim. What does it mean not to look? We mentioned last week, if you remember, what it is that when you look at something, it always stays there. You may think it can go away. You know, I looked, big deal. You know, I looked. No, such a bad thing. So I mentioned last week, Rav Nassan Ara, the Rebbe of the Chassam Sofer, that when you look at something, it stays there for a very long time. There was a Maisa, the surgeons once said they were doing eye surgery on a woman. And for whatever the situation was, they were not able to give her a complete general anesthesia. They had to keep her up. She was awake and she was speaking at the time. And as they were performing the operation, all of a sudden she jolted up. And they said, what happened? Is everything okay? She said, yes. I saw an aunt of mine that died when I was 2.5 years old. And I only know what she looks like from pictures. But I saw her standing over me, telling me words that I didn't understand. And they took out from there that when a person sees, whatever their age, for however quick it is, it stays within you. And the question that we have to ask ourselves is, are we prepared to have that within ourselves? Are we prepared to have that look which gives us those few seconds of maybe pleasure, hana, benefit, which you think is benefit, as we mentioned last week, it's only a bag of hot air. Because the moment you look into it, the moment you try to do something, nothing happens, it's salty water, you just want more and more. It doesn't satisfy you. And more than that, it ruins your sensitivity to anything good. So when Be'ez Hashem you get married, or for those that are married already, will realize that this is the beginning of the end. Because once you look at these things, the appreciation you have for your own wife is going to be gone. And let me, make it understood in a very simple manner, that if a person doesn't have an appreciation for his own wife, what type of marriage is he going to have? So this is something we have to think about. This is something we have to think about because what we look at penetrates inside us. In fact, why is Shemir Sunnah such a bad issa? What is the pshat? Such a terrible issa in the Torah. Don't look after your eyes. Why? What's so bad about the eye? The answer is the eye is the connection to the soul. The eye connects you to the neshama. It's this thinnest mechitza. It's the thinnest fence that separates the outside world to the inside neshama. And this neshama that resided b'kisei hakoved with the Rabbi Nishloim in Shamayim comes down into the world, dresses up as a guf, as a body. And by you looking at what you look at, you're putting that straight into the neshama. The eyes are the thinnest mechitza that we have to our neshama. Chazal tell us that a person can actually do niyuf beinayim. There's a person can act a ma'isa niyuf, an actual ma'isa of adultery, but a person can do it, says Chazal, with your eyes also. People think eyes, what's the big deal? Because we said last week, what is eyes? It's only looking. I just looked. What's the big deal? Chazal are telling us, oh no. When a person looks, in fact, we mentioned Chazal, if you remember last week, we said that Chazal consider the looking to be worse than the ma'aser itself. Can you imagine that? The looking at a woman is worse than the ma'aser itself. Because the imagination, the excitement, all builds up. And it's all by looking. And it's that one look, that's all you need. It's that one look that will set a person off. And then you wonder what happens afterwards. And people often have challenges. And we have to realize in life in general, life is full of challenges. The Rebbeinu Shalom throws at us challenges in all sorts of different ways and directions. And lahavdol elef havdolos. If you have a football training coach, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever it may be, whatever you follow, whatever you enjoy, you have a coach out there. The coach doesn't make life easy for you. Oh no. The coach likes to throw you challenges because he likes to keep you on your toes. He likes to keep you going. If life would be easy when you were training, you wouldn't get anywhere. And the Rebbeinu Shalom does the same thing to us. Don't think for 1 minute, and we'll talk about this in the future shurim as well, in the Sionis, why do we have them, why do we need them? But over here it's so poshut that the Rabbi Shalom, the big coach with the capital C, is throwing us challenges every so often. Why? To keep us on our toes, to make us better people. So there's two ways that you can react. Two ways. Either you could take it on head on, rise up to the challenge, or you can give in. Easy way out, just give in. And it's like running away from problems. Because if you take, the easy way out, you have people, for example, that drink. I don't know if you know anybody. There are people that drink out there. They have problems, so they drink. They drink their problems away. It's an easy way out. Why don't you face your problems like a man? No, I'll just drink my problems away, because that's much easier. Or I'll take various substances that will make me feel like I'm a lot better. Because, then I feel all airy and I feel like there's no problems in the world. Why don't you face your challenges like a man? Rabbi says exactly the same thing over here. People have it tough. People don't have it easy. And all of a sudden they have an opportunity to soothe themselves by looking at something which they think and they feel gives them that pleasure. That if they get it, as we said last week, there's something speaking to you saying there's an untold treasure out there. There's an untold pleasure that you're going to get. Just look. Just press the button and it will be there, that pleasure. And then you do, and it's empty. It's not there. Nothing happens. And you feel a lot worse afterwards than you did before. That's the Metzias. The key is to realize that it's a challenge. And you can rise up to the challenge. Chazal tell us that a person is never given an opportunity that he can't pass. And a sign is something that you can pass. That means it's custom made to every single one. You can rise up. It may be difficult. And as we mentioned last time, the Yetzer Hara Ta'arayis is one of the strongest Yetzer Haras that exist in the world. And it's for good reason, because it keeps the world going. But on the other hand, we can do it. It's difficult. But we have to realize, and this is step one, which is all I'm speaking about so far last week and this week. Next week we'll move on to the next sugya. The step one is to realize how bad it is. What it does to our neshama, what it does to our physical life. Forget about Olam Haba. Forget about Gan Eden. This life. You can have a happy life. What's going to make you a happier person? It's going to give you a happier marriage. It's going to give you a better marriage. I don't think so. Because you're going to expect, for those that are not married and maybe those that are married that are listening, you're going to expect that your wife can live up to those standards that you've been looking at. And that's not possible. It's not possible because the woman that you're looking at doesn't cook all day. She doesn't look after kids all day. She doesn't clean the house. She doesn't go shopping. So therefore it's not fair to expect your wife to do the same thing and act the same way as what you're looking at. So you've set yourself up for a terrible marriage. This is it, guys. What am I'm telling you the truth. Rabbi said, I deal with this. What can I tell you? Unfortunately, I deal with this. I get calls. Last time I gave a series of these shurim last year in a different place. I cannot tell you the emails and phone calls that came in from people, from around the world. You can't imagine, from people that were suffering from these problems. And I hear it so many times. It's ruining my marriage. What do you want to do it to yourself for? Forget Olam Haba, forget Gan Eden, forget Gehenna. That's a different shmooze. Avada, that's pretty hot. But what about this world? What about this world? When are you going to enjoy life in this world? You can enjoy life in this world because you tap on something on your phone and your computer and all the ultimate pleasures are right there? Oh, that's going to give you a happy life. That's going to give you an exciting life. No, it's going to give you a very depressing life. It's going to give you a very sad life because everything later on in life is never going to match up to that. And quite rightly so, because that's fake. So let's think about it. Let's understand the severity. What it does to our neshama. This is such a difficult generation that we're living in. Forget technology, that makes it even harder, but even walking on the street, the fashions are done in a way to entice you. Right, the billboards, these are places that are meant to entice you. They're all lomdas that they do behind advertising is to entice a person. They put a woman there, all of a sudden everybody looks. You can have an innocent, website, which is nothing. But they put a woman there and everybody gets excited. That's the Metzias. People are wearing clothing that are made to entice. What those women are going to get in Shemaim, I don't know, and I don't want to discuss right now. That's not for us to think about. But just, it's very difficult. It is difficult. And it's true. It is difficult. But again, this obviously is the pshat. Because the Pasuk tells us, that means that the Torah is saying that if a person watches his eyes and is careful for what he's looking at, that's the way to Mekayim Kol HaTorah Kuloi. Right here. Here's the secret, the key. You got it right here. Looking into your eyes. Ma'apshat. Very simple. Because when a person looks at what his eyes want to look at, or what his heart tells his eyes to look at, then he can't do anything else. The mitzvahs don't become mitzvahs. Davening doesn't become davening. Yiddishkeit doesn't become Yiddishkeit. And you have these people that 20 years down the line are complaining, Rabbi, what happened to me? I was a good boy. I did my daf yomi with the donut and the coffee, whatever it was. I was such a good guy. What happened to me? And sometimes it starts right over here. And 20 years down the line, you regret it and think to yourself, I've fallen into a pit that I just can't get myself out of. So now we're young. We can do it. We can do this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the Yetzer Hara, yes, but He created the Tavlin. He created the remedy. Torah, fill your souls with Torah, 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 Torah. It's the only way to get it out. It's the only way. The Gedolim made a decree many years ago when television came out. I don't know, television, most people live here probably didn't. Television, what was television? You had a screen, you had television, had television on it, but there was nothing, just television. But they had a thing called television, right, which, by the way, wasn't as bad as what you can do now. Vahamevin Yovin. Just tell you, Modi Gazach, the Manchester Rosh Yeshivas Zatzal, of Segel. I'm unvenoy with this Maisa. Unvenoy. He got up by Ne'ilah. You can imagine the yeshiva in Manchester, and this got mamish at Sadiq Hador, Manchester Rosh Yeshiva Zatzal. He stood up by Ne'ilah, the end of Yom Kippur, when everybody's excited after 24 hours of a real, davening and tshuva and everything. And he stood up and said, Rabbi Isai, ich bin a Rav, I'm a Rav, I have a koyach to paskin. My father was a Rav, my grandfather was a Rav, I'm paskining right now. That anybody that has a television in his house, Yom Kippur is not mechaper for him. It doesn't work. Everyone was like, wow, what's the pshat? what? How can you say such a thing? And he explained it. And he said, when a person is caught with counterfeit money, so he gets, he gets a fine, or maybe gets a year in prison, whatever it may be according to each country. It's a pretty bad thing to go around with fake money. But if you find the person that actually creates the bad money, that actually has the machine in his house to print the money. Said the Master of Yeshiva, if a person has a television in his house, he has the machine that creates the Aveiras in his house. That's it, that's the machine. The Aveira machine is in his house and it's creating Aveira and Aveira. Rabbi said this is television. I think we all understand that on our phones or computers, we have a lot worse than television. Oh, we could do a lot worse than that, than whatever was shown on TV put together. And that's what the Master of Yeshiva said then. I wonder what he would say now. You have the machine in your house that creates Aveiras. Yom Kippur doesn't work. Because you've got the machine. You're davening away Yom Kippur, Gavaldik. And of course, Rabbi said, we'll talk about tshuva, and how the tshuva does work. We'll talk about how. But we have to realize before we get to that stage, what are we dealing with over here? How serious is this Issa? It's something that we Pasha don't understand. Rivka, we know, when she was pregnant with twins, so every time she walked past, she felt a struggle inside her stomach. Every time she went past the church, struggle. Every time she went past the shul, there was a struggle. What's going on? Rivka's like, hello, what's going on? So she went to a tzaddik. And she was told, don't worry, you have a Rosh and you have a tzaddik, and each one is pulled to his, place of worship. So Rabbi Yerucham Levovitz in Das Torah writes, very simple question, which, maybe we all thought about. And he said, did they see what was going on? You think Yaakov really understood, saw outside the stomach, Esau saw what was going on outside? How did he know that the church was coming past? How did he know that the shul was? So Das Torah, Rabbi Yerucham says, very scary answer. He says, every single person has an inborn compass within him, and it pulls you to a certain direction. If you feel it pulling in one direction, then and it's the wrong direction, obviously, then that's inside you. You better fix it. Because that compass is always going to take you in that direction. A person has the courage to work on it. Yes, it may be inbuilt, it may be Yitzhara, it may be difficult, but it can be worked on. I want to read to you a letter, which many people over here have heard. And those that have heard it have to hear it again. Those that haven't heard it definitely need to hear it. And again, I repeat, if you've heard this, and I say this normally every Chanukah as well, then it's definitely kedai to hear it again, and probably kedai to do chazorah on the letter once a week. The letter goes like this. Is a real letter. You can look at it afterwards. I have the actual handwriting of the letter of the girl that wrote it. Right, you can have a look afterwards. It was written by a camper, a girl camper to her counseling camp in America. And it goes like this. Dearest, you're probably shocked to get this letter from me. 3 years passed since I've seen you last. You didn't think you'd ever get a letter from me. Though I'm sure you remember who I am. I liked you a lot as a person, but I never accepted what you told us. I always thought of you as a religious fanatic. You're always so nice to me. We got along well, but I just never wanted to hear about religion. I can still see your hurt face when you walked into the bunkhouse and saw me reading a magazine that was not for a Bas Yisrael. I don't know if you remember, you sat on my bed, held my hand tightly and looked at me. You didn't say anything, you just looked sad and held my hand. Things have changed a lot since then. Yes, I'm writing to you now, and I'm still lying in bed in the same position as you left me 3 years ago. My hand is still stretched forward, and I want you to hold it tight again. This time, I want you to look at me with a happy face. I want you to be proud of me. I just went through a terrible accident. I'm lying here in bed forever. I'm paralyzed on the right side of my body. I can't move. I can't talk so well. But my hand can still write, and it's this hand I stretch out to you. The doctors say my case is a lost case, no recovery. But I think this accident was the biggest recovery in my life. I'm not sad anymore. I learned the lesson. True, it was the hard way, but I learned. I lie here motionless and I think about all those days that I was able to laugh, to talk, to run, to sing, to dance, to play, to pray, to do mitzvahs, to help people, to thank Hashem for everything, every single movement that He gave me. But I lie here and cry as I think of what I did with all those happy days. I dirtied my ears. I ruined my eyes. I looked and listened to pictures, music, books, and movies that I shouldn't have. My mouth, the most precious tool that Hashem gave us, I used for words, curses, and songs that should not enter Bas Yisrael's mouth. I still see your sad look in front of my face. I still see you sitting on my bed. I still see your tears rolling down. And I see the disappointment. But how can a motionless mouth fix all the words that is said? How can it daven all the beautiful tefillahs? How can it make up for all those years that went to waste? How can a dead body correct all the precious time that was used to ruin my neshama? There's no recovery, the doctors say, but my neshama is shouting. I feel it pounding. There must be a way to fix everything. It was last night that I found the way, and therefore I pushed myself to write this letter. I want you to tell people my story. I want them to know. I don't want them to miss the boat. Tell them, please tell them, that as long as they can move, sing, dance, run, talk, listen, laugh, let them use it in the right manner. Don't waste time. Sing, thank Hashem for everything He gave you. Use every moment that you have to clean your neshama. Help others. Yes, I know that there are people out there who think they're cool and in, and they talk about singers and films with the biggest admiration. I know this because I also was one of those cool people. I'm lying now in my bed, my body is stiff and very cool. And I want all the people out there to get the message, that's my only recovery. I want them to take the most wonderful body that Hashem gave us and return it as a polished diamond. Rabbi say, I know that many people have heard that letter, but hear it again. Because every time you hear it, it's a new understanding. Here's someone that learned, unfortunately, the hard way. It was too late. It's not too late for us. It's okay. Yes, times are difficult. It's difficult Nisyonos. The Yetzer Hara gets at us. The fire is burning within us for the Yetzer Hara. But little do we realize what it does to our souls, our neshama, and what it does to our physical life in this world. And Rabbi, so let's take this to heart. We can work on it. We can do it. It's bad. It's pretty bad. As the Torah tells us, this is the Pesach to Mekayim, all the mitzvahs. Because when a person realizes how chashuv he is, when a person realizes that diamond that's within him, the neshama that he was given from the Rabbi Shalom, it's going to go up after 120. It's going to have a din v'cheshbon. You're going to have to give a din and understand, hey, everyone's going to be watching. The movie's going to be showing. And you're going to be standing there in front of everyone a little bit embarrassed of what you saw and what you said and what you heard and what you looked at. It's all going to be on there. It's all recorded, Rabbi say. Up until Tshuva, it's all recorded. And it's up to you to write the book right now. The book of your life is being written every single minute that you're on this world. You have the opportunity to write it in a good way and obviously to erase the bad, which we'll discuss in Mitzvah Hashem. All right, Rabbi, say next week, no shir, but in Mitzvah Hashem the week after that, we shall continue in this most chashuva subject in Mitzvah Hashem. Have a great night.